365 Radio. Baylor spring drills opened yesterday, and a lot of schools, of course, have opened yesterday. And we're going to touch in on all the teams from around the Big 12 as over the next few days. In fact, yesterday, even while discussing Kansas State with, of course, our Tim Fitzgerald, we discussed Kansas State football at the end after discussing Jerome Tang being hired. But one of the biggest questions about Baylor spring drills, at the very top, is the quarterback competition. That doesn't mean they're not trying to find weapons on offense. And we have that story. Travis Reeder in the Sic'Em 365 premium section. Craig did a preview of many things as they get into spring drills as well. But the good news yesterday was not only spring drills started, guys, but that Blake Shapen was just kind of going about his business, throwing the ball well, because we really haven't seen and or heard from him because we haven't in whether or not he was completely healthy.
Well, it wouldn't be a quarterback competition if you only have one guy, too. I mean, I know Kyron Drones would be there as well, but it would have been a little more difficult for Shapen to kind of get in it in the fall if he's not playing in the spring. It's good news because then you want everybody as healthy as you want in the spring because you want to be able to see what you've got on down the line. And the injuries in the spring, a constant kind of a headache for coaches because they don't really get to fully assess what they have.
Yeah, I mean, it's good that Blake Shapen's healthy, and they're going to have a competition between him and Bohannon. I mean, that's basically what the gist of it is. Kyron Drones is there as well. But, yeah, I mean, the big question was whether Blake Shapen was healthy, and he's healthy, and we know that now, and that's a good thing to know.
Well, Dave Aranda, of course, was asked. Jack McKenzie was there yesterday on Sic'Em 365 Radio and 365 Sports, and he was there along with Grayson yesterday. And Dave Aranda was asked about how he would manage and how Baylor was going to manage the quarterback situation and competition.
Yeah, they rotated all throughout today, and Thursday will be the same. And I think they're competing against each other, and I think Sean does a great job of fostering that and managing that, and I think they do a great job of embracing that. I think I mean, for me, just learning from, the past and the mistakes that I've made in terms of managing all of it. I think you always want to come in if you are not the guy. You always want to come in with an opportunity to show what you can do, and if you do it, have an opportunity to play. And I think that's something that I think is real and something that needs to be appreciated, and we want to do a good job of seeing that. And so getting guys reps and mixing guys with different groups and really making it competitive, I think will bring out the best. Yeah, I think you'd like to do it at the end of spring. I think for Blake to be given an opportunity and then for Gary to kind of assert himself is really kind of what's happening. And so I think it's fair to both of them. I think it only will make Blake and or Gary better, and so we're embracing it.
Do you treat it as a blank slate, or do you come in with taking into account what Gary did as a starter for 11 games last year?
Yeah, I think, Gary's got to come in and just continue to improve, and then Blake's got to come in and outplay him. Mm-hmm. And so, I think he's given that opportunity, and all of that's kind of been laid out and talked about, and, he's attacking it. So I appreciate that.
I like what he said there, and it's what I've thought, and I think most everyone thinks that's the right way to do it, that Shapen will have to outplay Gary Bohannon. And even with what he did at the end of the season, now you got to go re-rack it and do it again. And the best thing that Baylor football can have is that these two guys push each other to an unbelievable limit where they're both sharp as they can possibly be. And Kyron Drones also gets better. And C.J. Rogers, who's right there in that depth chart as well, gets more reps than he's had in a long, long time because he's a preferred walk-on and a guy with a lot of talent. And who knows? You never know where you are or who might get better during the offseason. Now, also, we'll have a couple more comments from Dave Aranda on them starting spring drills. He talked about the goals and the standard, and then also about how is there a comfort zone when you have such little turnover, roster turnover, even though more positions have been affected more than others. I'm just glad it's perfect timing. Baylor having the weekend they did in basketball. The spring drill starts on Tuesday, and now we'll see them again tomorrow as well.
Obviously, they don't feel that way.
Who?
That it's perfect timing.
No.
I think they would rather be a little more imperfect.
No, they'd like to be just one of many different things that we're talking about as well. So that's going on with Dave Aranda and Baylor football drills as well. Here, Armstrong, let's do this one here. The one about the comfort zone on the roster. So they do have some positions less than others. Wide receiver, we've mentioned that among some others. The secondary is kind of a work in progress, especially at the back end of it when you lose the kind of players they lose. But Dave Aranda was asked about, is there a comfort zone knowing there has been what overall has been a minimal churning of the roster? And again, that a lot of people are back that was on that Big 12 championship team and also Sugar Bowl team.
And I think there is really strong positives that can come from it. I think, right away when you ask the question, my mind goes to just the different. I mean, we've got, say, with the O-line and D-line guys coming back, I would look at it as, man, there's dudes that were grad assistants that are that was last year, and now they're a full-time coach. Or we've got guys that are full-time coaches that are now, coordinators, right? And so, I think the roles are different, right? What we're asking from them, right, is new and improved. And I think their, change is difficult, and change is never easy to embrace. But I think for us to go where we want to go and to be who we need to be, we need to be able to take that change. And so it's good that guys are back, but we need them to be at their best, and that requires them, kind of emerging from where they've been.
You'd rather have this situation than what it's been before, where you didn't, you had missing parts everywhere. As well. Craig, we discussed the wide receivers quite a bit yesterday. Also the backside of the defense quite a bit yesterday as well. The running backs, when you lose both, obviously, Abram Smith and Treston Ebner, is there another position that you feel like the depth may not be what it needs to be? Is it possibly the defensive line? Where is that?
I mean, it's definitely not the defensive line. I mean, that's the most.
I just was throwing that as an example.
That's the most welcome back group in the entire team is the defensive line. They've got literally their entire two deep back. So I guess I'd go maybe, I don't know. You just mentioned a bunch of them. You mentioned wide receiver, but it's not even a depth thing. It's a do they have the guys to play thing. They have bodies. It's not a bodies thing. It's a who's going to play. Who's good enough to play right now. We've got 10 guys. What 4 of you guys can play? And that's what they're, I think, trying to figure out more than anything right now. There's a couple corners that you feel good about. But is there 3, 4, 5 corners you feel good about? I don't think right now there probably is, or at least on paper it doesn't seem like there is a sure thing there. And I would say that kind of goes for not only corner, but I think you got a spot to figure out at safety. You got a spot or two to figure out at linebacker. You got to get your depth better there or more proven there. Wide receiver, obviously, you mentioned. Running back, obviously, you mentioned. And that's pretty much the summary of it. I mean, tight end, you've got 2 tight ends that you feel good about. And Sims and Dabney, and then you've got some guys, but they're incoming freshmen like Kelsey Johnson, so nothing proven there yet either. So, yeah, I'd say, I guess mostly, the back 7 of the defense and, again, the skill guys on offense like we've been talking about. Those are the positions. Those will remain the positions. Those are the ones that we know for a fact they don't have the surefire full meal deal. Offensive line, they do. They got one spot to figure out starting-wise there. Defensive line, again, the entire 2 deep is back. So the lines are fine other than just needing to figure out a little bit, but it's mostly the skill guys and that back 7 on defense that they're trying to figure out.
All right, the chat room is going. 365 Sports on YouTube. Also